and we welcome you to the ShakeBack Sports Show OE. That's right, baby. We are live, loud, and in color. When I say live, I mean just that. Shout out to everybody that's watching us on Facebook Live as well as Periscope and YouTube. And I got my big homie in the studio with me once again. And we're going to chop all things up sport. My brother from another mother, my little big brother. Cory Ellison. Cory Ellison, what's going on, man?
What's good, brother? Glad to be back, my man.
Ain't that something? And ain't that the truth, man? I know exactly how you feel about that. I am so very excited. We have accomplished yet another feat in our early ages of doing this show and this podcast. Once again, we are live on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube. The Big Game Christian Sports Network is who we are presented by. And this is the podcast version. There will not be a regular show this week as we are kicking the narrative. I will be hosting that affair live on Facebook with the network, Charles Boyd, the Hickses, Big Day, the dopest engineer in the game, and Mr. Stellars himself, Cedric Bailey. We will be in the hizzy kicking all things the narrative. So this show, this podcast, this episode will be going straight to Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcast material. All right, Cory, I see you waving your hands in the air like you just don't care. Oh, boy, what you just got done doing?
Doing James Winston.
That's right, man. It's time to eat. So let's dive on into this thing, man. We're going to take a short break after we get through this first segment. But let's dive on into this because we have a lot of things to discuss. And of course, we're going to start off with the NFL. And the hashtag Homer segment is making an opening in this episode, if you will. So, of course, the hashtag Homer segment is when we discuss our favorite teams in the National Football League. Mine being the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm getting used to saying that, Cory. And yours being the Dallas Cowboys. Born and bred, West Dino, stand up. So, in week 9, live from Jerry World, a.k.a. AT&T Stadium, a.k.a. the Chicken Fried Nation, a.k.a. the Blast Furnace. Shout out to Randy Galloway. What's up, man? The Pittsburgh Steelers, the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, came into Jerry World and had a bit of a tussle with your Cowboys there, Cory. But typical Cowboy fashion, they found a way to lose it. The final score being whatever what the final score was. But it was a good showing by the Cowboys. And their, fourth quarterback of the season, Garrett Gilbert, Cory?
Yes, sir. As we've discussed in our previous segments, man, this year is a wash for me. I know my team is not going to do anything this year just because of all the injuries that we've had. But I do want my team to be competitive. And what they showed last week was that they had some heart finally. A couple of weeks prior to that, man, I don't know what happened, what was going on, but I'm very proud of what my team did this past Sunday. All I want them to do is be competitive, man, but I do want them to lose because I've told you I want us to get a good draft pick this year and continue to try to rebuild. I do think that it was good to see some of the younger players getting some burn, especially players like Neville Gallimore, who came in and just made a big difference, man. You get rid of Dontari Poe and you trade Griffin and you're bringing these younger cats and voila, we start to see a difference. So just going forward, man, I just want to see more of that. And I just want the games to be competitive going forward, man. And let's see what happens from there.
Yeah, and speaking of your young talent, the second round draft choice out of the University of Alabama, cornerback Trayvon Diggs is going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks with the fractured bone in his foot. Diggs has been up and down all year, but he has shown some promises, particularly in that one game. I think it was against the Philadelphia Eagles where he actually had 2 picks. Remember that, Cory?
Yes, sir. 2 picks. And that's just frustrating, though, man, when you have young players like that, especially rookies that's coming in trying to learn the game and they get injured. That kind of sets them back. because we want to continue to see him progress and get better and better as the season goes. Now he's going to be out, potentially could be out for the rest of the year. If that's the case, then he's losing ground from what he was, working towards. So just hope, man, that he gets back so he can, finish out the year and have something to look forward to going into next year. But like I said, man, I was happy. Even though we lost, I was good with this loss because they competed, and that's all I want to see.
Yeah, and compete is what they did as they held the lead for most of the game. Looks like the Steelers may have, quote unquote, played down to the competition as Big Ben Roethlisberger. You know what? In that game, Corey, you know what I noticed coming out of halftime and into the second half? The Steelers went to almost an exclusive 5-wide set. And when I saw that, Big Ben started picking the defense apart a little bit and the whole offense really got into a rhythm. Thus far, they were able to capture the lead and go on and win the game. But it was a doggone good effort from those Cowboys. And what can you say about Garrett Gilbert? He played really, really well. Zeke Elliott, again, did not show up. I don't know what's going on there. And we may not ever know until next season with this old deal. But I got to give credit where credit is due, man. The Cowboys, man, they showed up. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people lost their bet or lost their money on that game because I think the Steelers were favored by like 14. Yeah, and the Cowboys jumped out to a 13-9 halftime lead, but then they gave up 15 in the fourth quarter and to include a 2-point conversion.
And some crazy penalties. We gave up like 3 or 4 just stupid penalties towards the end of the game.
Yeah,
that killed us as well.
Yeah, and so the Steelers scored 15 points in the final stanza and took the final 24-9 in that particular game. Tony Pollard was actually the Cowboys' leading rusher. 9 carries for 57 yards. And Corey, you know what I noticed about Pollard is that he is a running back that never seems to get knocked backwards. He's always falling forward when he gets hit. And to me, that's a sign of a really, really good running back. I remember Dexter McCluster when he was at Ole Miss, as small as he was, he did that in college. And Tony Pollard, man, is not that much bigger, maybe in height wise he is, but as far as stature, they kind of remind me of each other. And he's one of those running backs, man, that just keep falling forward whenever he gets hit.
Yeah, he finds the hole, man, and he hits it. He don't do all this stutter stepping, and he has speed, and he's elusive. So I don't know what's going on with Zeke, man. I know he's lost some of his speed. He's not as shifty as he was, and I can kind of contribute it to our line as well. Zeke needs a line that can actually block him and get them holes open for him versus somebody like Pollard. He's fast enough and shifty enough, and he can see, and he make that one cut and he can go. So going forward, man, I'd love to see more of Pollard, but I know we paid Zeke, so he has to be on the field. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, shout out to the Cowboys defense, man. They held the Steelers to only 46 yards rushing. James Conner, the bell cow of the backfield. That could be the name of a segment. Bell cow of the backfield. 9 carries, 22 yards, and he was the only one person or only one player from the Steelers that actually got into double figures in rushing yards. So the Cowboys defense, as far as the running game, stood up. And you got to give credit, and you got to take something to try to find something to build up on. And the Cowboys may have done that, especially with going into week 10 with the bye.
Yeah, we're gonna win this week.
Yeah, they're gonna win, lose, and tie at the same time. How you like that? We have to look back in NFL lore history and see if that's ever happened before. All right, so on to my Las Vegas Raiders. And this game against the Los Angeles Chargers, whenever we play the Chargers, I don't care what the records are. I don't care who's on the field. It is always one of those games that you just never know what's going to happen because these two squads and these two franchises are two of the original AFL teams, and they've been at each other's throats for the last, 2,000 plus years. Raiders go down to SoFi Stadium in LA and pick up a 31-26 win over the Chargers. The Chargers led 17-14 at the half. The Raiders came out on fire in the third quarter and went up 28-20. And then it was a barn burner after that. Justin Herbert, quarterback from the Los Angeles Chargers. He is trying to make a case for Rookie of the Year, Corey. 38 of 42 for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, he's a Raider beater. 9 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown there as well. And the exciting part of the game was the last play of the game where Justin Herbert, I think he tried to hit Mike Williams in the end zone for a touchdown. They called it a touchdown initially, but then after further review, the penalty or the call was overturned. So the Lakers get out. The Raiders get out. We're going to talk about some basketball. The Raiders get out of LA with a 31-26 victory, moving their season record to 5-3 at the halfway point with a pretty favorable schedule coming up in the second half of the season. And this game, man, had me on the edge of my seat.
I was about to ask you, did you have your butt cheeks clenched?
No.
Stop lying.
No.
You knew y'all was going to win.
I didn't say that. You asked me.
So you just said you was nervous.
Well, you asked me if my butt cheeks were clear. No. I was nervous, yeah. Don't you know you can cry without having tears?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, man. So that's the hashtag Homer segment. As we recapped what our teams did. The Raiders, I keep wanting to say the Lakers. They must really be on my mind. The Raiders will host the Denver Broncos in Week 10 in Sin City. And that's another game that makes me nervous because it's another one of those rivalry games, and the records really don't matter whenever those two get together. All right, Corey, any other final thoughts on the hashtag Homer segment?
No, sir. I think we good, man.
All right. So we got about 2.5 minutes left to go in this first abbreviated episode of the ShakeBack Sports Show, which is actually a podcast right now. So we're going to continue. I want to ask you some other things about the Cowboys because we're not going to get to the, we're going to do the, we're going to get to the, did you see that segment in the second part of the show? But the Cowboys, man, let's see. How much? Okay, no, because they keep talking about it. And when I say they, I mean social media outlets all over the place. Keep talking about it. And that's the contract that Dak did not get. But he seems to be making a case by not being there, proving his worthiness. Corey, do we really believe that Dak Prescott is going to get franchised again? Or do you think he's going to actually get the long-term deal? Or is he not going to be there, period?
And I must stay with what I've been saying this whole time. He's going to get his contract. I felt like even before this injury, he was going to get his contract. Everything was pretty much in place except for, I believe, 1 year. He wanted 4 years versus him wanting to give him 5. I know they already knew what talent he had and how much he meant to the team. But I think this injury just enhanced it by times 10. So for me, man, I don't see no way that he's not going to get the money that he wants and what he deserves, and that he's going to be our locked up full-time quarterback for years to come.
Well, and I'm really kind of tired of beating a dead horse into the ground even further. If the Cowboys know what's good for them, this shouldn't even be a debate. It shouldn't even be a discussion. And really and truly, Dak is the man, and he should get everything that is entitled to him. He's been showing that incidentally or coincidentally by not even being on the field. Thank you, Andy Dalton. Thank you, Dom DeLuise, a.k.a. Ben DiNucci, and Garrett Gilbert for making Dak an even richer man than what he's going to be. All right, Corey. So that's going to wind it down, man, for this part of the ShakeBack Sports Show podcast. Come on back on the other side of the break. We're going to get into some NBA as well as some other great sports talk. So y'all come on back on the other side and check us out, man. We'll be back with y'all in just a couple of seconds. All right, so we welcome you guys back to the ShakeBack Sports Show right here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network podcast version, iTunes, Google Play, or Google Podcast rather, and Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast. Make sure you please click on ShakeBack Sports hashtag Brothers of Baseball. Subscribe, like, rate, review, unrate, rate again. All that good stuff, man, that helps us expand the brand. All right, so just in case you missed it in the first segment, we talked about our hashtag Homer segments or our Homer team. So, of course, that's the Las Vegas Raiders for myself, and for Cory, that is the Dallas Cowboys. So, Cory, the NBA is coming back. You ready to get into this?
We're gonna do that before we do our. Did you see that?
Yeah, we're gonna bring the Did you see that back a little bit later.
Let's do it then.
All right, so the NBA, fantastic. Season set to start December 22nd. Draft is 1 week from the airing of this podcast, which is November the 18th. Free agency starts on November the 20th, and there have been a lot of rumblings out there in regards to Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Eric Gordon from the Rockets as well. Cory. Well, we had a couple of technical difficulties right then. Cory, did you?
You froze on me.
Yeah, oh man, that's sometimes technology has its own mind. But yeah, did you hear anything I said about the start of the season being on the 22nd, and how do we feel about it being starting that early?
Yeah, man, as far as it starting that early, it's a little concerning for me. And I kind of put it in the same mindset as the NFL season. For these players that just went deep into the playoffs, man, like the Lakers and all these other teams that went far, they really haven't had enough time to rest their bodies and heal their bodies. And it takes time for you to, you have to give your body time to heal and, give your muscles time to relax. And they're jumping right back into it, man. And like I said, I kind of treat it like the NFL. With the NFL, they didn't come back too soon. However, they didn't have training camps and they rushed back. And as you can see, we've had numerous injuries as a result, more than we usually have. So it kind of concerns me in that aspect. I hope that doesn't happen in the NBA. But selfishly, I am glad to see it coming back soon. As you know, everything is pretty much over. Except for the NFL. We don't have the NBA. We don't have baseball. So to have it come back sooner than later, I'm happy about that. But in the back of my mind, I just pray for these players, man, and I hope, their health holds up.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. But the thing that I kind of have an issue with, I mean, yeah, the Lakers and the Heat and all of the rest of the playoff teams, particularly those ones that got to the conference finals and the conference semifinals, yeah, they did play late into August. But you know what? My thing is this, or actually until late into October, rather. My thing is this, is that they had 3 months off, okay? And they weren't really, I mean, I know the games were stacked pretty much while they were in the bubble. I mean, but the thing too with that is that they didn't have any travel time. They didn't have to go anywhere. They were all right there together. So I while I agree with you in that respect, I mean, because Danny Green and some other people have already come out and said that a lot of the big time superstar veterans, i.e. LeBron James, may not play the first month of the season. So we'll see. And then you have those teams, of course, like the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards and those type of squads that hadn't played since the pandemic came into effect back in March. So they're essentially going to go 9 months before they even play a reasonable or a real game. So that's a long time in that respect. So it just and it sounds like that they're really trying to accompany the players with regard to reducing the back-to-backs. It's going to be a 72-game season, and the NBA they came out and said, as far as a business practice or a business purpose or reason, was the fact that they did not want to compete with the Olympics, and they wanted to be done in time the Olympics was supposed to start in Tokyo. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's talk some about Russell Westbrook and James Harden. James Harden and Westbrook are both one-time MVPs. Russell Westbrook is the most recent person or most recent player to average a triple-double throughout the season. James is probably the best one-on-one offensive player that we've seen in probably 40 years. But they both want to get out of Houston. And now we see general manager or former general manager for the Rockets is now have that same position in Philly. Any chance, I know there's a chance, but any realistic chance that we could see James Harden or Russell Westbrook in a Sixers uniform?
Man, I'm going to never say never. But first off, man, shout out to Russell Westbrook, man. Happy birthday. Turned 32 today. But like I said, man, you can never say never. People think that there's contracts in the NBA that can never be traded away. They can always be traded away. There is never a bad contract. From our aspect, we think it is, but if they want to make it work, it can make it work. But we have heard whispers about Ben Simmons. We've heard whispers about Joel Embiid. So they got high caliber players there that if they want to get rid of them and do something different, they can. It's just a matter of matching the money and the contracts up to make it happen. So I'm never going to say never, but I don't think that's going to be the destination that they go to.
Well, I've heard several things, man, and all of them sound pretty intriguing. And I'm going to run each one by you. Okay, the first one was a straight up trade for Russell Westbrook to Philadelphia for Ben Simmons. So now you would have Russell Westbrook along with Tobias Harris, along with Joel Embiid, along with Doc Rivers. There's also a report that Chris Paul could be on the move to not Milwaukee, but Phoenix, and maybe even the Clippers. Then you have another possible landing spot for Russell Westbrook is either the New York Knicks, and I even heard the Brooklyn Nets. Now, that Brooklyn Nets one, I don't know at all.
No.
I mean, when you can't, to me, you can't have Russell Westbrook and Kyrie
and KD.
Have KD all over again. So I don't know about that one. And then I heard another one that involves your Mavs. That's Mr. Gordon coming over from possibly to Dallas from Orlando for they're trying to package Gordon and the 15th pick that they have to another squad. And I heard that the Mavs were maybe a little interested in him as well. Zach LaVine from the Bulls to the Mavs. That would be special too. I don't know how likely any of these things are, but I do know this. James Harden and Russell Westbrook will not be playing for the Rockets this year. Yes or no?
I agree with Westbrook. I'm still iffy on Harden. But they won't both be there together, no doubt. I don't know, man. Just looking at Westbrook is just asking, is that a player that you would target if you were a general manager? Would you want him 30? Like I said, he turned 32 today. He's owed $41.4 million for the 2021 season, $44.2 million for the 21-22 season, and then he has a $47.1 player option for 22-23.
Yeah, and by that point, he'll be going on 35, or he'll be at 35 at that point.
Yeah.
At that point, well, for right now, I mean, he's clearly he can't be the best player on the team.
Nope.
and his team went championship. That was the knock on Jimmy Butler wherever he went until this year. And
Mm-hmm.
what would have happened? Well, we know what the same thing probably would have happened. It probably wouldn't have gone 5, it may have gone 7. But I mean, I think you have a valid point, and not to mention, you say he turned 32 on Thursday, but he's also had a myriad of injuries in his knees, and he's arguably the most athletic point guard we've ever seen in the NBA. And you know how it is, man, for a person that relies on their athleticism the way that he does, and you start to lose it, it gets ugly quick.
Agreed.
Very quick. So I don't know, man. We got a lot to shake out, or it's going to be a lot to shake out. The draft. You want to talk about the draft a little bit? I know you got some personal interest in the draft coming up next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday, the 11th. So, yeah, I know you got some personal interest with that, Cory.
Yeah, man. Just shout out to some of the local kids, man, that my son has competed against, in the AAU realm. And to see these kids, man, just blossom and take their games to new levels, doing it in different ways. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey, South Garland's own Tyrese Maxey. Went 1 year at Kentucky. And now he's, projected to be a lottery pick. You have RJ Hampton, that went to the Colony High School and then took his own way. And instead of going college ball, he went overseas and played for a year in Australia. He's projected to be a high pick. And then last but not least, we got Arlington's own, oh my goodness, I just went blank, from Texas Tech, Ramsey.
Oh, yeah.
That was at Texas Tech. He did 1 year at Texas Tech, played phenomenal, man. And same thing with him. So just to see players that players that your kids have played against, to take it to that next level and ultimately get to where everyone wants to go and make their dreams come true. That's just a beautiful thing to see, man. So I wish them dudes nothing but the best.
Yeah, and of course, all those local kids, man. I think Dallas-Fort Worth has really strengthened itself as far as being a basketball hotbed for young talent. And anybody that's in the universe knows that Texas is predominantly a football state. But man, we've had a lot of great kids, man, to come out of this state, and particularly from this area over the last maybe 10 years or so. So yeah, man, good luck to those guys. May the Lord's graces be with them on their draft day and going beyond. I'm really excited to see where these young men are going to land. All right, Cory, I wanted to ask you one other thing about the NBA before we move on to the did you see that? So the Lakers, of course, are the world champions, and I wanted to ask you 4 viable threats to the Lakers in the Western Conference. And I think, if somebody may have had Houston in there, that's going to really be shaken up, because I don't think either Harden or Westbrook, I don't think either one of them are going to be there in Houston before it's all said and done. So who are your 4 biggest viable threats to the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference?
I didn't know we was doing Western Conference, so I just did 4 teams. But
that's
two
fine.
off the top are the Warriors and the Clippers. Warriors are going to be back. I know they took a back seat because of all the injuries that they had. But look, you're getting Steph back, you're getting Klay Thompson back, got Draymond Green. You pretty much still got your core. So I think they're going to, come out hitting on all cylinders. It may take some time for them to get their feet under them, but by mid-season and on, they're going to be right there. Clippers, they still got the talent, man. You got Kawhi Leonard, playoff P. We'll see what he does in the playoffs. But the only thing about them that concerns me is that they have a new coach. So it's about buying in. Are they going to be more disciplined and a better executing team with this new coach versus Doc Rivers? We have to see about that. And as far as other teams, like I said, I didn't do 2 more from the Western Conference, but I did put the Celtics in there still. Them dudes are tough, man. And, they're young, got to take their growing pains and their lumps, but they'll still be there. And right now, still got the Bucks in there as well with Giannis. As long as he's there, it's going to be a problem. So,
yeah, but look, Giannis, he needs some help. He
does.
really needs some help. And if they don't if they don't find some pieces around him when free agency starts, they're going to be the same old Bucks to me. I think the Raptors or not the Raptors. I think the Celtics are right there, like you said, last year in the playoffs or this past season in the playoffs. So I don't think Kimball was right at all in the playoffs. I think he was still bothered by that knee. And the Sixers, I wish Mark Westerhuff was on here with us right now. The Philadelphia 76ers, if they swing this trade and get James Harden, they will instantly be the favorite, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference, even over the Brooklyn Nets, because I just don't think that you can win anything without or win anything with Kyrie Irving as your point guard. Unless he has, well, he's got KD. I just want to see how that's going to work. I mean, because Russell Westbrook and James Harden were all over each other, saying that how it was going to work, they're going to make it work, and now you find out that they absolutely do not want to play together. So, and then in the Western Conference, man, the Golden State Warriors, yeah, they're going to be back. They still have their big three, and Draymond Green is still the muscle for the team. He was really disinterested last year, and then Steph was injured as well, and of course we know Clay was out all season. And they also have Andrew Wiggins, and oh, by the way, they got the number 2 pick that they're going to probably package and send somewhere.
Absolutely.
So they can make a run for it again now. So right now, man, if you ask me to put a amount of money that means something to me, I would say right now the Warriors are going to come out of the West. And I hate to say that because I hate them.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I definitely see that, especially depending on what they do with this draft pick. Like I said, I don't think they're going to keep that pick at all, man. They're going for it. They're not young. They're not a young team no more. And it really doesn't make any sense for them to bring a young player in right now to try to, groom when they're, right there on the footsteps of looking at another championship.
Yeah, no doubt. 100% agree with that. All right, before we get to did you see that? There was one thing I forgot to talk about. I forgot to mention to you, rather, in the first half segment or first part of the show or whatever you want to call it. And that was the modification of the NFL Rooney Rule that now places compensation to a franchise that hires a minority coach from another team. It came out on Wednesday, I want to say it was, because, of course, the Rooney Rule says that you have to interview, at least 2 minority candidates. Yeah. That does not guarantee them a job, so it's basically a reverse type of affirmative action. So it's really like affirmative unaction. So now with this new setup, Cory, what do we think about the chances of this actually improving the minority coaches of the world in the NFL getting a fair shake?
Man, when I first heard this, I had to really just sit back and think about it. And at the end of the day, I still don't like it. Mm-hmm. Why does a team have to receive compensation of a draft pick in order for an African American to be considered for a position? That's still a slap in the face to me. They should be picked because they've earned their right to have that position. You shouldn't have to bribe a team in order for them not to see past our color or whatever the issue is. So I still don't like it at all, man.
And that was my initial thought of it as well, Cory. I saw Ryan Clark on I think it was First Take. It may have been Get Up, one of those shows where he was talking about it and how he actually liked the idea of it. I do like the idea of it, but to me, it still is a exhibition of some sort of separation, if you will, because now a team may, I don't know how that they're going to find some way not to do it. I mean, the best way to do this thing is just hire the people that are most qualified. Period, point blank. Doesn't matter really what color they are, because we know that the NFL is 75% black or something to that effect. So you should have your players, the amount of players that you have should mirror the amount of head coaches that you have. And the amount of head coaches in the minority space that you have should mirror that of what you have in those upper or those middle to upper management spots as well. So I wanted to touch on that for a second. I don't know how effective it's going to be, but we shall see. All right, Cory, this is your favorite part of the show. It is something where we saw, whether it's in sports or out of sports, that made us say, "Oh my God, did you see that?" Again. Oh my God, did you see that? Cory, what out there in the world of sports or just the world period made you say, "Oh my God, did you see
that? Man, something caught my eye last night. I don't know. Did you watch any of the Western Michigan versus Toledo game?
I saw what you're talking about. I did not see the game, but I did.
Man, they caught them boys slipping, man. Basically, Western Michigan was down. They marched down the field, came down and scored. After scoring, they recovered an onside kick. And time was ticking off the clock. They didn't have any timeouts left. So Toledo, they was like, oh, well, they're about to kill the clock. So they're just going to, spike the ball to kill the clock. Well, that didn't happen. They thought that that's what they were going to do. They had a wide receiver wide out to the left. Basically, the quarterback faked the spike. The receiver just trotted into the end zone and just stood there and waited for the quarterback to throw the ball, touchdown, game over. Western Michigan wins 41-38.
Yeah, that is definitely a oh my God, did you see that? Moment. And I remember the first time I ever saw a play like that, it was Dan Marino with the Miami Dolphins against the New York Jets. And he did the exact same thing. He faked the spike. And I think the receiver for the Dolphins was Nat Moore on the outside to the right. And he did the exact same thing. He actually threw a back shoulder type of play to where Nat Moore, if that was the receiver, I can't think of who it was. If that was actually him, yeah, he was the first one that I saw do that, man. All right. So there's a lot of did you see that's out there, man. And this is one that's really not funny. But when I saw it, it did make me, oh my God, did you see that? And that's the amount of COVID cases, Cory, that's been wrecking college football here lately. To the tune to where, Wisconsin had to postpone a couple of games. LSU and Florida, that game had to be postponed. LSU and Alabama, that was set for this Saturday, has to be postponed. The University of Maryland, I think they were playing Ohio. Yeah, they're playing Ohio State. They've had an outbreak of COVID infections in their football program, and they actually shut down their facilities earlier this week until further notice. So that right there, yeah, I know everybody is, including the coaches and the players and the fans alike. They wanted the college football season to go forth. But now here we have these mini outbreaks all over the place, and it is definitely making me. Oh my God, did you see that? Yeah, say it again. Oh my God, did you see that? And I don't think anybody saw this coming. And of course, last week, the Clemson Tigers went to Notre Dame and got beat with their backup quarterback. It was a great game, but Trevor Lawrence now has been out for 2 straight weeks. He was the Heisman favorite, and now we don't know what's going to happen. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Cory, what's your final shake, man? We're going to wrap this thing on up and get on out of here.
Man, just got my eye on Tiger Woods right now, man. See what he gonna do. Keeping my eye on him.
Yeah, he finished this round, man, as this was the second best round, I want to say, into 9 holes ever.
Tiger Woo.
And a lot of people forget that he won that thing last year. Yep, he is the defending champion. So shout out to Eldrick, Tiger Woods. My final shake or final back or whatever whatever you want to call it, man. Look, we are in the midst of a lot of turbulent times right now. And the presidential election that just concluded could have very well been the did you see that moment of all time? Because what is going on right now in our country in regard to the vice president elect as well as the president elect, that would be, of course, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and what current president is doing, Donald Trump. It is nothing short of I don't see how this is a violation of the Constitution, because the United States, in my opinion, is never more vulnerable than it is right now when it comes to attacks, both foreign and domestic. And I know that the competition says that we have to protect ourselves against the foreign and domestic enemies. But if you ask me, man, and I don't, even if you don't ask me, I'm going to tell you, Donald Trump is a domestic enemy. And all those that are supporting what he's doing, or not doing for that matter, he is the domestic enemy at this point in time. So God bless America. Shout out to all of the veterans, both past and present and future. Shout out to the ones, and glory to be to the father of the veterans that have gone on to glory, to include my dad, Wille Epting Sr. So Cory Ellison, got anything?
Yes, sir.
You got anything else?
Oh man, I like this, dude. I like our new setup. I'm excited.
So you're excited, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sirski.
Yep. That's good, because I'm excited too, man. So we're gonna get on up out of here, man. We're gonna wrap this podcast on up as you hear that guy playing in the background, man. For Cory Ellison, Wille Epting Jr., ShakeBack Sports Show podcast. We will holler at y'all again real soon. Y'all take care. Peace. We out. So
that flowed well, man. I like that.
Do this.